What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Okay, so finally, the bill passed. Now, I posted a video, and I'm not sure when I'm going to post this one. I'll probably post it early in the morning, but I posted a video yesterday, and I was talking about the Social Security Fairness Act, and I said that it passed. Now, let me show you what I was looking at. And so I'm looking at Google News, and I see this article from the Federal News Network, and it says, Senate passes Social Security bill to repeal WEP and GPO. Now, we've all been waiting for this. We were waiting, so I'm thinking, okay, well, this is it. So I sit down, I record a video, and in that video, I remember saying I was going to show you guys the final vote count. And so after I posted the video, about 30 minutes later, I said, oh, you know what? I forgot to put the vote count. And so I started searching for the vote count on Google News and just searching everywhere. And guess what? I couldn't find it. Why? Because they hadn't voted yet. And so I go to C-SPAN and I see that they hadn't voted yet. Some of you guys in the comments actually let me know that they hadn't voted yet. And so I ended up pulling that video. So I pulled the video yesterday because I didn't want there to be any confusion when it comes down to it. And I didn't realize it took me about an hour to figure out this whole situation. So I was researching for like 30 minutes looking for the final vote count, and then I realized it's not there because they hadn't voted. And then I go back to this Federal News Network, this headline here, and I click on the headline, and guess what? This is what I get. So they pulled it as well. And so they put that out there first, saying that the Senate had voted, and there was so much chaos just last night. With all the different votes, and the government shut down. The House was able to pass it, send it to the Senate. Now the Senate was trying to figure out when they were going to vote on that. And then you're going back. I was going back and forth to C-SPAN after that, just looking at some of these senators just talking about a variety of different things. But realistically, they weren't really focusing on the vote. And so even though we knew that this was going to be brought up, Leader Schumer already indicated he was bringing up the Social Security Fairness Act, and we knew it had a very good chance of passing just because you had 61 co-sponsors. And so it did pass, and so that's good. And so I'll show you guys the final vote count, and then I'm going to continue. In that video, I talked a little bit about what is WEP and what is GPO, so I'll explain that at the end of this video. And so I apologize for that, but the good news is the bill did pass. Okay, so that's the good news.
The yeas are 76, the nays are 20. The 60-vote threshold having been achieved, the bill is passed.
It will go to the president, so the president can sign off on it, and then we're looking at, we don't even know where we're going to go from here because we don't know how they're going to roll it out. We don't know they're retroactive. It's going to be about a year, so what are they going to do with that? Is that going to be one big check that's going to be sent to people? When is that going to happen? There's a lot of stuff that we don't know. When are they going to start implementing this? And so are they going to start in January of 2025, or are they going to start right away? And what I mean is your next Social Security check, is it going to show that the elimination of WEP and GPO so you won't have that reduction in your benefits? When are they going to do the recalculation? All that stuff. And so there's a lot that we still don't know about, and so I'll make sure to keep you guys posted on that. So make sure you subscribe and hit that little bell notification. But I just wanted to kind of explain to you the whole situation that happened yesterday. It was pretty chaotic. I was having some issues with stuff around my house as well, and I'm trying to put out videos and thinking, okay, and I posted a video earlier, and then I posted that video right after, and then realized, okay, yeah, I messed that up. So let me pull that video back. And so hopefully you guys understand all that. So now we're going to talk a little bit about WEP and GPO. Here we go. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go over is the government pension offset. So I'm going to show you this illustration here. We're going to talk a little bit about how this impacts people who are receiving a pension. So let's look at this scenario. We're looking at me, 21 years I worked, I paid into a pension. I did not pay into Social Security, okay? So in this scenario, I worked at 21 years, I pay into a pension, and then when I retire, and it doesn't matter when it comes to a pension, depends on what type of pension you're getting, but in my situation at 50, I was eligible for retirement, so I could start receiving my pension. And so that's what I did. So now I'm receiving my pension. And so let's say my spouse, she works 30 years and she pays into Social Security. So she pays FICA. She pays that contribution. That money goes over to the trust fund and it goes to pay out people who are currently receiving benefits. So that's how the system works. Now, when she gets to the point, let's say she gets to 67 and then I get to 67, now she is starting to draw on her Social Security. So when she does that, then you're going to have other people that are working, paying FICA. That money will do the same thing. It will go to the Social Security Administration, go into the trust fund, and then go out to pay her benefits. Well, guess what? In this scenario, when she reaches 67 and she decides to retire, that money, like we said, it's going to come to her, so she'll start receiving her benefits. But also, I would be entitled to spousal benefits. And then if I outlive my spouse, then I'll be eligible for survivor benefits. And so that's where this comes in. Now, in this scenario, I worked 21 years, I paid into a pension, but I did not pay into Social Security. So I have no credits or anything, but I'm still eligible. And some people might look at that and say, well, that's not fair. You never paid into Social Security, so you shouldn't be eligible for Social Security benefits. Well, let's look at this scenario. Let's say I never worked. Let's say I was a stay-at-home dad. I never paid into Social Security. I never earned any credits. However, my spouse, she worked. She paid into Social Security. That money went to pay out people who are currently receiving benefits. And then when she reached 67, now she's eligible to start collecting those benefits. And guess what? I never worked. Never paid into Social Security, but I'm eligible for spousal benefits. And if I outlive my spouse, then I'm eligible for survivor benefits. So in this scenario here is very similar to this scenario here. I didn't pay into Social Security, but I'm still eligible for survivor benefits or spousal benefits. And so I just wanted to show that. So that is the first scenario here. GPO, government pension offset. It will basically look at the fact that in a situation like this, and what I didn't say, and I'm not going to put exact amounts. I did a couple of videos, extensive videos on this. I showed you the exact amount. It's like 2/3 of your pension amount. That's what they would reduce. And so basically what it would look like is this. Let's say my spouse is 67, I'm 67, I'm currently collecting a pension, and I'm eligible for spousal benefits. Well, what will happen is she will get her benefits, and then I could be eligible for what? Half of her benefits, but it would go through the pension, the government pension offset. And then they would reduce that down and then give me an amount. And so I can still get Social Security benefits, but it will be reduced. And so when you eliminate WEP and GPO, now there's no longer this deduction. The money will come. So if it's half of what my spouse is currently getting in Social Security benefits, then I'll get that full amount. And the same thing goes with survivor. So survivor benefits would do the same thing. If she's no longer here and I'm receiving benefits, it goes through the government pension offset. And in certain situations, depending on how much money I'm bringing in a pension, I could be zeroed out and where I won't receive anything. Okay, and that was the story that I was telling you about. This the principal. She was in that situation where her husband passed away, and now she's not eligible for anything, and so she had to go back to work. And so that is the government pension offset, and this will be eliminated as soon as the president signs off on this bill. That's how it affects people. Now you can imagine this is going to be a lot of money for some. Some people are going to be able to receive, like let's say when it comes to survivor benefits, they're going to be able to receive survivor benefits at, they could get an extra $1,500, an extra $2,000 in their monthly money that comes in. And that's just due to eliminating WEP and GPO. Okay, so now let's look at the windfall elimination provision. So this is WEP. So let's look at this scenario. Let's say I worked in law enforcement for 20 years. And I paid into a pension. So I paid into that 21 years, I paid into a pension. I did not pay into the payroll contribution. So I didn't pay into FICA. And so I do this job for 20 years. I'm now 50 years old. I go ahead and I retire. So I retire from that job. And when I retire from that job, then that job starts sending me money. I started receiving my pension. But I'm 50 years old. I'm still young. I think, you know what? I want to work another at least 17 years and then I can retire and receive some Social Security benefits. And so I started another job. And in that job, I'm contributing 6.2%, and this is normal. So FICA, 6.2% from me. My employer is matching that 6.2%, and that's a total of 12.4%. That goes over to the Social Security Administration. That goes into the trust fund, and that money comes right back out and goes to pay out beneficiaries. So that's the way the system works. And so let's say I do that for another 17 years, and now I've earned enough credit so I qualify for Social Security benefits. And so it gets to that point where now I'm 67, and I decide, okay, I'm receiving this pension, but I still want to receive some benefits in Social Security. And so I apply. And then what happens is the trust fund comes over and they're going to send out benefits, but the windfall elimination calculation needs to happen. So the windfall elimination provision, they do their calculations. I think it's up to 50 to 60% of your pension or something like that. But they're going to reduce those benefits down even further. And so let's say, and I'm just giving an example, let's say I would get $1,500 in Social Security benefits. Well, they're going to reduce that amount down to, let's say they reduce it by $400. And so now I'm out of $400 per month because of WEP. And so I'm not going to get that full amount. I'll get $1,100 instead of the $1,500. And so when you eliminate WEP, then guess what? I'm going to get an extra $400. And so that's what a lot of people that are in this situation currently, that's what they're going to see. They're going to see an increase in their Social Security benefits as a result of eliminating WEP and GPO. And so that's kind of the scenario there. So in this scenario, it's a little bit different because you did work, you did pay into FICA, but you're getting a reduced amount. And they do that on purpose because they don't want you to have a windfall. They look at the fact that you're receiving a pension. And they say, well, they're receiving a pension and they're showing 17 years of work, but only 17 years paying into Social Security. But we don't know about this. We didn't know about the pension. And so you have to understand with Social Security, they try to balance things. So people on the lower end, they can receive a higher percentage of the work that they've done. And then the people on the higher end, they received a reduced amount, okay? And so that's what we're talking about when we start looking at the windfall elimination provision in GPO. And I'm going to say this one more time. We're not talking about people who are extremely wealthy. We're talking about people who work in, for local and state government. And so this is good news for them. Now, moving forward, I do want to talk a little bit about one other thing before we go. There are no pay-fors when it comes to this elimination. All they did was eliminate WEP and GPO. That means that more money will go out, just like I showed you. There's more money that will go out because people are not going to receive those reduced amounts anymore. That means that the trust funds will be depleted faster. Okay, they say about 6 months. 6 months, it will expedite the process of the trust funds being depleted by about 6 months. That's not a lot of time, but when we're looking at a shortfall in about 9 years, so the trust funds are scheduled to be completely depleted in about 9 years. And so Congress actually needs to act, not just on this, but they need to act and reform Social Security. They need to find a way to bring in more revenue. Either bring in more revenue or make cuts, make major cuts to Social Security. And so we'll have to see what they do in the future, but that's something that needs to happen regardless of what they're doing with the Social Security Fairness Act, regardless of what President Trump is talking about when he says he wants to eliminate taxes on Social Security benefits, because if that is implemented, that will also mean that the trust fund will be depleted much faster, and that's like by about 2 or 3 years. And so that would really put us in a bind where instead of 9 years, if we eliminate taxes on people receiving Social Security benefits, now we're looking at 6 years, maybe 7 years, that the trust fund will be depleted. And so these are just some of the things that I wanted to bring up. We're going to continue to follow this, but it is good news. The bill did pass, and now it's off to the president for final signature. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.